logic why we need to create first.
Yes.
Why log shipping? So we have data in this particular thing. Why we want to move to the other server? What is the use or what is the need?
Yes.
Okay. So as a database, it is important to manage or maintain the data without losing. I told an example always, the bank data. If you lose the data of 5 minutes of data in the bank, there will be multiple transactions, account openings, account deletions, multiple will be there, which will be lost. So I have this as a primary and I have this as a secondary. In log shipping, we call the two servers as primary and secondary. Primary is also called as DC. This is main. Secondary is also called as DR. DR means disaster recovery server. So why there is a concept of log shipping? As I'm telling, if by any problem this server is not available, this server is not accessible, data is corrupted, data is lost. So think that one server is in Mumbai, one server is in Bangalore. Right? So think that there was a floods in Mumbai which affected the server. Means that the server, where the server is there on the on-prem, it got affected by the floods and all the water went into the server and server is not coming up. What will happen to the data in the DC or the primary server? What will happen to this data in the primary server?
It's crashed.
The data itself is not available. The server itself is
available. Not be available.
So what about the data? What happens to the data is there is no data here. It got disconnected. Now I only have secondary which is in Bangalore. How I will get the data? Which is the reason the log shipping is a concept which came into picture. Manage or maintain a copy of the data which is in the DC. Right? You got the point here?
Yeah, bro.
So the data, this is the DR. DR means disaster recovery, means disaster. Whenever any disaster happens to this DC, then the DR will be used to connect to the application. So application, think that HDFC application is connecting to the primary server. The primary server is not available now. Now what HDFC need to do is they need to point their connection or the connection string to the secondary server so that the data will be there in the secondary. Understand?
Yes.
But it is having its advantages and disadvantages. Okay, in log shipping, we don't have a real-time sync. We don't have real-time sync. But this is a basic high availability. High availability means making the data availability on the top level. Log shipping is the basic one of the feature which is part of high availability. Right? The basic or the major requirement or the concept here is whenever any disaster happens to the primary, the secondary need to be available and come up. That is a major reason. But what is the configuration? We need to configure. See, if we create server 1 and server 2, both will have their own separate databases. Okay, but how they will be lock shipping secondary, how they will be in sync. You have primary here, you have secondary here. What is the purpose? How we will make this sync? The requirement here is we need to make sync of the data which is in primary server. It should be same in the secondary server.
Yes.
But if we create separate databases here, we give it the same name also. How the data will be coming from the primary to the secondary? This is what we need to configure. The Microsoft SQL Server gave us an option or a high availability feature to make the data sync. One of the high availability feature is log shipping. Log shipping runs based on the shipping of the logs from primary to secondary. Moving the logs from primary to secondary. Okay. So here the concept of backup comes here. So here I want here what happened is I took a backup. What I'm doing is I took a backup. For this, the initial requirement is to create a folder, new log shipping underscore primary server. Means the data, everything will be happening on the backups happens on the primary, and here backups happens the secondary, or the this is thing that log shipping underscore primary is in primary server. Okay, these two servers are different servers. Okay, we have two instances. Even we have two instances, there are two different servers only. As I'm telling, the disaster recovery, one server will be in one location, another server will be in another location. If we have both the servers in a single location, there is no point of managing this. Any disaster happens, the location itself is not available, both the servers is not accessible. So there is no point of keeping both the servers in one location, which is the reason these two servers will always be in a different locations. Okay.
So it
here
is mandatory that both the servers should be in different locations.
is the purpose.
Okay.
Okay, other than mandatory, we can tell it is a purpose. If we have both the servers in single location, we no need of having itself.
Yes.
Okay? So it is a purpose of that. Here, think that log shipping underscore primary is in one server, primary server. Log shipping underscore secondary is in a secondary server. Okay. So if I let me. So what happens is these two folders should be accessible from each other. Okay, so from primary server, I should be able to access primary folder and secondary folder. From secondary server, I should be able to access primary and secondary both. Because as you already told in the starting, in primary server, we run backups. LS backup. LS means log shipping backups happens on the primary server. Copying and restoring, copying from primary to secondary and restoring on secondary happens on the secondary server. Okay? So the requirement for this is we want two folders to be shared. Sharing means we will see. So I'm trying to access the shared folder. Let me initiate this one. Properties sharing. So this sharing, we need to share this folder. Share. We need to share to everyone mostly, or it should have read and write for sure. Share. Okay, we are sharing this. Now what I'm doing is I'll copy this. Let me see whether the sharing is happening or not. So how we will access files in other server? Double backslash. We need to give the server name, host name, or the server name or IP address. Okay, see here. Once I click here, this server came up. This folder came up. Can you see?
Yeah, primary.
Means that this is presently shared. Now I will share this also. Sharing. Everyone add. Everyone should have read write